So it may only be 9 days into this transfer window, but we have already seen an abundance of deals go through in the league. All of the latest ones will be discussed in today's video, as well as the latest rumours which are currently going around the championship. So if you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like. These are massively appreciated. We've got a lot of rumours to talk over today, which I'm interested to get your guys' view on. And before we do hop into anything, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. Over on the OneFootball app, it's a really good place to keep up to date with all of the latest transfer news currently going on around the footballing world. We've had, like I say, only 9 days into January, and we've already had a lot of deals going through, and it's hard to keep up with them all the time. Things are obviously constantly changing, and I'm sure that by the time this video comes out, we'll have a bunch of more transfer rumours which are breaking. But like I said, OneFootball, link down below. So without any further ado, let's talk about some of the completed deals which we've gone through lately. We're starting out with Fulham, who did make Ivan Cavaleiro a permanent in January a couple of days ago, signing him for around about £15 million from Wolves. He spent the first half of the season on loan there, where he's grabbed 5 goals and 6 assists. Probably is one of the most naturally gifted players in the championship, certainly within that Fulham squad. And he has scored some absolute belters for them so far this season. The goals he scored against Millwall, Huddersfield and Charlton, he's really scored some crackers so far. Like I said, on his day, probably is one of the best wingers in the league. If he can get maybe just a little bit more consistency about his game, he really will be one of the best players in the league. At only 26, he's still got a lot to give as well. I think Fulham have got a good deal there. I think he's only going to go on and get better. Barnsley have signed 19-year-old German defender Kilian Ludwig on loan for the rest of the season from Red Bull Salzburg. Ryan Brewster has also completed the loan move to Swansea City from Liverpool, moving there for the rest of the season. Has that connection with Steve Cooper, having recently worked with him in the England youth setup. I think a lot of people in general are interested to see how Brewster gets on in the championship. Obviously, one of Liverpool's most highly rated youngsters, getting that first chance in senior football now. Swansea had Sam Surridge on loan for the start of the season from Bournemouth, but with that loan cut short, Brewster could be their man going forward to lead the line for them for the rest of the season now. And I mean, he's certainly got the players in and around him to get the best out of him. I'll leave a poll for you guys to vote on. How many goals do you see him scoring for the rest of this season? Gary Medina has had his contract cancelled at Cardiff by mutual consent. He signed for them 2 years ago for a fee of around about £6 million. And scored no goals. The question I ask you guys, would you take Gary Medina at your club? And then we saw Preston North End complete the permanent signing of Scott Sinclair, coming over from Celtic on a 2.5-year deal. When this story broke, there were some murmurs going around that this was only going to be until the end of the season, but signing on the 2.5-year deal, I think this is a real statement of intent from North End. And of course, there's been some people criticising the signing, saying that it might not work, and it may not, but for me, this was just what we were in need of. A winger that we've been in need of since losing Callum Robinson in the summer. You know, we brought in Andre Green, that move didn't work out. For the time being, we've been playing Shawnee Maguire out on that left-hand side, who's only got 1 goal in his last 18 matches. We needed a dynamic winger, and that's just what we've gone and got. Someone with experience like Scott Sinclair, who has been playing, obviously, for Celtic for the past 4 seasons, where he's got an exceptional goal-scoring record. Albeit playing in the Scottish League for the best team in the division, so that may skew his stats a little bit, but even so, 62 goals in 167 appearances for Celtic is absolutely fantastic. He's not played all too much football this season, because obviously Neil Lennon doesn't fancy him too much, but the season prior to that scored 17 goals last season, the season before that scored 18, and the season before that scoring 25. Last time he was in the championship, he scored 27 goals in all competitions, as well as a hat-trick in the playoff final for Swansea. I am very excited about this transfer. It's the sort of deal that gives me like McGeady vibes from back in the day. People said that that deal wouldn't work out, and he turned out to be an absolute gem for us. I also think one of the reasons we've been struggling lately, especially to break teams down at home, has been we don't really play with much width. You know, our fullbacks aren't great at going forwards, and then whoever we play on the left-hand side, either Shawnee Maguire or Josh Harrop, love to cut inside. So having an out-and-out winger like Sinclair, I think will make all the difference for North End. And if we go and get 1 or 2 more faces in this transfer window, top 6 could be back on. But those were some of the completed deals which have gone through in the last few days. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into some transfer rumours. It looks as if Huddersfield are going after Sheffield United defender Richard Stearman, as they look to bring in a bit more experience to their backline, especially with the injury to Tommy Elphick. Stearman, who hasn't really featured for the Blades so far this season, could be a possible option for them. 32 years old now, made 16 appearances in Sheffield United's promotion season. A possible departure from Huddersfield is Steve Mounier. I think that if you would have asked Huddersfield fans maybe a month, 2 months ago, would you sell him in January, the answer probably would have been yes. But lately, there's been a real upturn in his form, and he's actually been playing quite well, scoring 3 goals in his last 5 matches for Huddersfield. Besiktas are reportedly one of the clubs interested in him, and I don't know, I'd be interested to get some Huddersfield Town fans' thoughts on that one. Bit of a weird one coming up next. Apparently, Antonio Valencia fancies a move back to England, currently playing his football back in his home country of Ecuador after leaving Manchester United last season. The story popped up because he recently signed with an English-based agency, and some media outlets have been reporting that he fancies a move back to England, with the Championship possibly being his destination and that he would be open to that. So he's not quite been linked to anyone yet, but the question I'd ask you guys is, would you take Antonio Valencia at your club? He's currently 34 years old, obviously had an illustrious career in the past, but would you take him in 2020? I'll leave a poll for you guys to vote on. Another big name being linked to the Championship lately has been Emre, known back in the day as the Turkish Messi. He was one of the most upcoming talents in Europe when he made his move to Borussia Dortmund, but I think he fell out with then manager Thomas Tuchel. He then made a £13 million move to Celta Vigo, and in his second season has now been loaned out to Galatasaray, where he's not really fit in. So it's looking likely that that loan move will be cut short and Celta Vigo will be looking to send him out on loan somewhere else. And Brentford and Leeds have been the two Championship clubs quoted as interested in Emre, and it was actually Sky Sports who broke this story, I think. I'd be fascinated to see the outcome of this one. Obviously a big name coming in. Brentford and Leeds are two clubs who are probably going to be interested in bringing in a striker this January as well. Emre on loan, would you take it? Sheffield Wednesday were already in the market for another striker, but added to that, the news with Stephen Fletcher being out for up to 10 weeks now with the knee injury that he picked up at Brighton. I think that it's a must now that Sheffield Wednesday need to pick up someone. The first striker that they have been linked to has been Lee Gregory of Stoke City. Scored 4 goals for them so far this season, which doesn't really do him justice. I actually don't mind Lee Gregory as a player. I think he's a decent player, and someone within that Stoke squad who's actually given it his all week in, week out. He works hard for the team. I think his link-up play is decent. He's just not always had that final product in front of goal, but in fairness to him, not a lot of Stoke players have really. 4 goals and 3 assists in a fairly struggling side I don't think is too bad. In his previous 2 seasons with Millwall in the Championship before that, he's hit double figures in the league. I don't think that will be a bad option for Sheffield Wednesday, although I do believe really into it that he does support Sheffield United, which could put a spanner in the works. Another striker Wednesday could go in for is Arsenal striker Eddie Nketiah. Spent the first half of the season out on loan at Leeds. It's obvious that Nketiah wants game time for the second half of the season, and Wednesday could be the ideal move for that. You know, they don't really, with Fletcher out injured, he won't really have all too much competition in the squad there, and with service from people like Bannon, Reach and Harris, I actually think he'd get on quite decent at Wednesday. Other clubs interested, Nottingham Forest have been heavily linked with him lately. He'll be fighting with Lewis Grobban there for the #1 striker spot in that side. Bristol City have always been interested since the summer. My side, Preston, another team who seems to be interested in the striker as well. Lyle Taylor's contract situation at Charlton continues to be an interesting one, and I'm sure one which a lot of Championship clubs will be monitoring over the month of January. There has already been a lot of interest, and it's understandable to see why. After hitting double figures for goals and assists in League One last season, he really hit the ground running in the Championship, then picked up an injury, but has since got himself back in the side. West Brom, the latest club to be linked to the Charlton striker. I think that in terms of Taylor at Charlton, I mean, Charlton fans, what do you think? If he's not going to sign the contract, what would you like to see happen? There is, of course, still the possibility that he does go on and sign that extension, but at the moment, I'm not sure how likely that's looking. I think the worst thing that Charlton could do would be to let him go for a minimal fee and then not suitably replace him in this window. That would then leave them in a bit of a dire situation for the second half of the season, but other clubs interested, Sheffield Wednesday, Nottingham Forest, there's no doubt going to be clubs continue to be linked with him throughout January. One player Charlton have been heavily linked to has been Armand Nangelay, the Blackpool striker, whose contract is up at the end of the season, having a fantastic time for them in League One at the moment, scoring 12 goals. I think he'd be a really good option in the Championship, but reportedly Charlton have moved on to other targets and pulled out of this one after Blackpool's asking price is too much. I think Blackpool looking for upwards of £1 million for a striker whose contract is up at the start of the season. Charlton obviously don't see that as good value for money. Barnsley striker Woodrow continues to be linked around the Championship, with Bristol City and Nottingham Forest the latest clubs to be interested. We mentioned him in quite a bit of detail in the last video, speaking about the link he had to Leeds United, but with 9 goals in the Championship so far this season, it's understandable to see why there is interest there. Another striker Forest have been reportedly interested in has been Jonathan Kodjia at Aston Villa. Reading through Twitter before I made this video, it's clear that Villa fans wouldn't mind seeing the back of Kodjia. Not really fit in this season in the Premier League, just making 6 appearances, all of which coming from the bench. In terms of Kodjia though, I'm not sure Villa would be willing to let him go without them bringing in a couple of bodies themselves first. With their lack of strikers, I think in the game they had against Leicester last night, they were playing El Ghazi up front. With Wesley out for the season for Aston Villa, I just think they'll be looking to bring in strikers before they look to let anyone else go out. But Forest fans, would you take Jonathan Kodjia? His career has fallen off slightly in the last couple of seasons at Villa. Back in the day, he was a fantastic striker in the Championship though. When he first burst onto the scene at Bristol City, scored 19 goals that season. His first season at Villa, he was excellent, scored 19 goals that year as well. The following season, he then picked up an injury and wasn't quite as prolific after he came back. But for me, it will be one to look into for the Championship. I think it will be all dependent on what Villa's asking price was for Kodjia budget as to whether this will be a good deal or not. Victor Kemaras's loan spell at Crystal Palace looks like it will be cut short after playing just 5 minutes of Premier League football for them so far this season, and there's no doubt going to be interest at Cardiff after how well he did for them in the Premier League last season. With 5 goals and 4 assists for them last time, he was absolutely fantastic in that midfield, and I've been surprised that he's not really been given his chance at Palace this season, but they do face competition from other sides. Norwich and Celta Vigo also interested in the Spanish midfielder. Peterborough United playmaker Marcus Maddison continues to be a popular one, linked with Championship clubs. We've seen a whole host of teams being linked with him so far: West Brom, Hull City, Huddersfield, Middlesbrough, Derby and several others. So far this season, in 21 appearances in League One, he's had 15 goal involvements, one of, if not the most creative players in League One, and with his contract expiring, I believe at the end of the season, I think the interest in Maddison is going to continue to ramp up as the window does go on. He does have a release clause of 2.5 million. It is a very interesting one. At 26, he's still got time to develop going forward as well. With him consistently being one of the best players in League One over the last 4 or 5 years, surely someone's going to take a gamble on him eventually. Aidan McGeady, another player who might be departing from League One soon after falling out with Sunderland manager Phil Parkinson. He is available in January. We spoke about this one on a couple of videos ago. He's linked to Middlesbrough. Since then, Sheffield Wednesday and Hull City have also been linked with the winger. I can't see him ending up at Sheffield Wednesday after how his last loan spell ended up there, but Hull City possibly. Last time he was in the Championship, he scored 7 goals and got 5 assists in that Sunderland squad that eventually went on to get relegated. The season before that, scored 8 goals and got 9 assists for Preston in what was probably one of the best seasons he's had in his career. He was absolutely unplayable that year for North End. With him being 33 now though, Hull City fans, would you take him? Devante Cole's move to Wigan Athletic never really worked out, did it? He spent so far this season out on loan at Motherwell, where he scored 4 goals so far this season. Currently the 2 Championship clubs said to be interested are Hull City and Luton Town. Several Championship clubs are also said to be monitoring Aberdeen striker Sam Cosgrove, who's got a fantastic goal scoring record lately, it has to be said. Last season for Aberdeen, scoring 21 goals, and so far this season in 26 games in all competitions he's managed to score 20 goals. Absolutely prolific at that level. 6'2", only 23 years old. It's understandable to see why the demand is so high for this striker. Currently the clubs said to be interested in the Championship are Stoke, Derby County and Middlesbrough, but with Aberdeen holding out for around about £10 million, I'm not sure I can see anyone paying that. As the window goes on and clubs get a little bit more desperate for strikers, Cosgrove could be someone who a Championship club could be coughing up for. James Norwood, the Ipswich striker, has been linked to the Championship. I think Wigan and Huddersfield, the 2 clubs who I've seen, were interested. I'm not sure how much is actually in that rumour though. I can't see this one being true. I'm not sure if either of them would actually go for this move. Obviously the striker had a fantastic time at Tranmere in his 4 years there. In 189 appearances, scored 92 goals for them. So far this season in League One for Ipswich has scored 9 goals. I just think they'd each be looking at different options. And then we'll finish it off with Darren Randolph. Still looks like he will be on his way to West Ham. That transfer yet to be confirmed yet as of recording, and the latest report coming out about Randolph is that the transfer has been delayed for the time being while they do a second medical. Obviously he has struggled with injuries so far this season, I believe a thigh injury, and that may require surgery, so that deal for the time being has been delayed. But guys, there you have it. There are all the latest transfer rumours currently going around the Championship. If we didn't mention any that you've seen lately, then let me know about them in the comments down below. But apart from that will now wrap it up for today's video, guys. So if you do want to enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you do stick around on the channel for tomorrow, where we will have our Championship score predictions back. We've got some cracking games coming up. But like I said, thanks so much for watching. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.